All right, 717 questions from 2 weeks ago. From 2 weeks ago about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It says, what about people who came back to life after Jesus died? Wouldn't there be things written about them? Matthew's gospel records that there are several people who came back from the grave. And I'm assuming what had happened, these are people who had died within a few days of the death of Jesus, and that his death prompted a resuscitation. There's not a permanent resurrection of them. They were raised from the dead like Jesus had done with Lazarus and as Jesus had done with the widow at Nain's son, that there were several people that came out of the grave. They rose, they went back to their families, they then lived out the rest of their life and died again, natural causes, as Lazarus did, as the son of the widow at Nain, as Jairus' daughter did. These are not the only people Jesus brought back from the dead. The question is, wouldn't there be something written in history books about them? And the answer is, we have accounts of these kinds of things in Matthew's gospel and in the early church records. There are discussions about these kinds of things in some of the early church documents. Just like the other miracles of Jesus, there are people who refute them, there are people who explain them away, and there are people who said Jesus was practicing black magic. You remember that, or maybe you may not be aware of this, but some of the accusations of Jesus by his accusers from his day that we have written for us today is they accuse him of practicing black magic, that he has the ability to do miracles because of his familiarity with the dark arts. And so we do have accounts of people confessing essentially that Jesus had done these miracles. His enemies even, but his enemies explain them away as Jesus has sleight of hand or using tricks or things like that. And so I think that's a historical record outside the Bible of miracles of Jesus that are attributed to him by his enemies. They just have a different reason why they think they occurred. The Gospels and all the New Testament writers say they occurred because he's the Son of God and has power over the universe. The opponents say, oh yeah, they occurred, but they're all tricks of the mind. Jesus was a great illusionist, a practicer of the black arts, of black magic. And some even accused him of being in bed with the devil, like he has the ability to do these things because he and the devil are best friends. And so there are extra biblical accounts of Jesus' miracles, including the raising of people from the dead, but they're attributed to ill and not good. The Bible and people within the early church attribute these things to miracles Jesus did. So we do have accounts of them, and even though it's a very short reference in Matthew's gospel, that's one of many books that affirm all kinds of miracles that Jesus did. Number two, are there any non-biblical accounts of his resurrection and appearances? There's all kinds of speculation, again, within the documents of opponents to Christianity, that Jesus didn't rise again from the dead. Within the documents of Christianity, there are 27 New Testament books. All of them affirm the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And there are a very large collection of early church writings within 100 years of the resurrection that affirm the resurrection of Jesus Christ. People like Justin Martyr, people like Clement of Rome, people like Eusebius. These are early on historians, church leaders who affirm the resurrection. And so you have 27 letters. You have several documents within, in fact, documents like the Didache, documents like the first Clement, things like that. There are these documents within 70 years, 60, 70 years of the resurrection that affirm the historicity of the resurrection. And then you have documents like Josephus, and you have Philo, you have the other documents as well that all written within 100 years or less of the resurrection that say there's a lot of people claiming Jesus died and rose again from the dead. There are plenty of extra biblical documents, non-biblical documents that affirm the resurrection. Here's the thing. If you say, well, why not an eyewitness account? Well, there's not a single piece of paper from eyewitness accounts from a lot of historical people that are far more disconnected from the original source. In other words, 1,000 years removed, the documents we do have, and yet we view them as credible historical accounts, like people like Nero, people like Julius Caesar, documents on people like Marcus Aurelius, emperor. That date, that the time from the document to that person that they were preserved for us is much longer than the Bible. We have 5,000 documents within a few hundred years of the resurrection of Jesus Christ that say he rose again from the dead. Many of them are eyewitness accounts. Many of them are within a generation of those eyewitness accounts that could talk to people who were eyewitnesses of it, of the events. So I would say the resurrection of Jesus Christ from that time period is the most documented historical event anywhere in that time period. The only issue is that its miraculous nature causes people to deny it. So anyway, that's the answer to that question. There are all kinds of documents. If you'd like to read more about that, there's plenty of very good books about this, including those by Lee Strobel on Case for Christ and Case for Faith. Till then, we'll see you guys 7/17.